What's up, my friends? It's time for the holiday AMA, and we're gonna dive straight in. Let's start with some holiday themed questions. This one is from Anonymous. Please answer the question of how medical students can stay focused during the break. I would say that depends on what stage in medical school you're in, right? So as a first year student during the holiday break, you probably don't need to grind as hard as the second year students. Second year students, they have STEP coming up, and for that reason, they should probably study a little bit harder. Now, when you are trying to be productive during the holidays, I don't think having a 0 or 100 approach is optimal, because 0 being, hey, I'm just gonna kick my feet up, relax, 100 being, I'm gonna treat this like it was the regular school year and just grind hard. I think somewhere in the middle is ideal. Going into it, set up some rules for yourself, some guidelines as to how hard you wanna study, how many hours per day, how many days per week. And if you go in with that intentionality and you're being realistic, again, somewhere between the 0 and 100, then you're gonna be successful. Next up, from Baylor Wiggins, what was the best holiday tradition as a kid? As a kid, for a couple years, because I'm not Christian, I didn't grow up Christian, but my parents, they still celebrated Christmas in the traditional sense of having a Christmas tree, and we put the ornaments on and all that stuff. We put lights on the house. So we did that for a couple years. I think I was in elementary school, maybe in middle school. I don't think we did it in middle school, just a couple years in elementary school. So that was really nice of them. But my favorite holiday tradition is actually Thanksgiving, because it's me and my cousins and their family, so like 7 of us every year at their house. It's awesome, it's always a good time. And next year we're doing it at my house for the first time. So that is gonna be the first time in like, I don't know, 12, 13, 14 years that we're switching it up. And it feels cool to have everyone at my place next year. It's like a milestone, you know? Hashtag adulting. From Ben Hollenberg, how do you deal with having to work the holidays in medicine? I would say that, first of all, I'm very fortunate in that I never had to miss a Thanksgiving, and that's the most important holiday for me. Now, as for Christmas and New Year's, I think by leaning really into the festivities with your coworkers, it becomes much more manageable, much more festive, much more jovial compared to if you're just like,
I just want to get out of here and get back to my family and whatever.
So, you know, you're there, you're working the holidays, make it as pleasant as you can for yourself, for your coworkers, and for your patients, and that's the best way to handle it. I do actually talk about this a little bit more in the Should Medical Students Work Holidays video, which you can find right up here. Baylor Wiggins, best and worst gift exchange gifts you have seen or been given. Last year, I don't know if this was for the holidays or for his birthday, but his parents got him a wooden spoon. I don't know, man. On to the personal and lifestyle questions. The juicy stuff. If you had the option to work as a PA with your background, would you? This question is from Courtney. Thanks for the question, Courtney. I get similar questions a lot. Would you do PA? Would you do IM, urgent care, anesthesia, go back to plastics? Nah. I'm really happy with what I'm doing right now. I make a big impact. It's really exciting building businesses. I have a couple different businesses now. I have so much more control and freedom with my time. And yeah, I'm just like, I like what I'm doing. But if you're asking me if I had to go back into healthcare in some capacity, would I go back as a PA? No, I would finish residency in plastics ideally. If I had to do something else, I don't know, I'd have to think about it. But I would want to practice as an MD. I think that based on the distinctions between MDs versus mid-levels, there's pros and cons to both. And the MD, practicing as an MD definitely fits my priorities and my values a little bit better. Imran Khan asks, what do you do for fun? These days, I feel like it kind of varies. There's like seasons. So these days I'm trying to get back into cycling. I took some time off earlier this year. I'm obsessed with cars, so go to the racetrack a lot. I'm a Porsche track day instructor now, so you can find me at all the Porsche Club of America events out in Pahrump. I actually started a new YouTube channel about cars, which you can find up here. I got really into Scotch for the last year. Oh, I've been doing improv. So I actually did 2 one-hour-ish sessions like back in 2018. It was a lot of fun, and I never touched it again for years. And I was thinking about that. I was like, you know what? I should do it again. So I found a class here in Vegas, signed up, and it's like, I think 10 of us, 12 of us. We meet every Wednesday, and it's dope. Patrick asks, what is your advice to someone with no direction? How can one find one's purpose in life? That's deep, man. I don't know how helpful I can be there. I'll say, if you feel like you have no direction, focus on the fundamentals first. I've noticed when I'm feeling down, feeling crappy, just not in a good place, if I don't have my exercise dialed in, my sleep dialed in, things just trend worse. And the only way to really get out of that is when I grab life by the balls and just like go hard, and I dial in my sleep, I dial in my exercise, and I push hard, at least on those fundamentals, and that gets the ball rolling in the right direction. And as for finding one's purpose, I'm not sure, man. I'm still trying to figure that out myself. I think a lot of introspection, journaling, working with a therapist on a regular basis, I think those things are all helpful. And giving yourself the time just to be like, hey, it's okay to not have it all figured out right now. It's especially, I'm not sure how old you are, but it's fine to take your time, and you don't need to rush any of those things. Oh, by the way, This awesome tea is Spring Alishan 2020 Oolong, which is actually my favorite oolong. You can find it at Tea and Whisk, my favorite tea spot here in Vegas, and they do ship. And you can use that link down in the description for a special discount. What's your process for reflecting on the year and planning for the next year? I will be making a video about that. Every year it kind of varies, but I do make it a point to journal extensively, spend like a couple hours. Usually it's around Christmas time. I normally go home for Christmas or sometime around Christmas, and I'll sit there on my laptop and just like have some headphones on and listen to music and just write for a good chunk of time. This year I might do more experimentation with looking at my calendar events, with trying some other people's best practices and recommendations for that yearly review. What's the best car you've driven in 2022? I have a spreadsheet. It's called the Jubbal Cars Driving Index. Of course I have a spreadsheet about the cars that I've driven, but I rank these cars on that spreadsheet. The one that comes to mind right now is the Lotus Elise. That was such an amazing driving experience. That's up here, but that was pretty recent. And I might have just, because of recency bias, I might have forgotten the really amazing cars I drove earlier in the year. So the car that has the highest driving index score is actually a 2007 Porsche 911 GT3. That's the 997.1 generation. And I made a video about that, which you can find down below. And then second place is actually a 2001 Honda S2000 AP1 bone stock. Also made a video about that. Also a truly amazing experience. One owner that owns both of those cars. He has great taste in cars. All right, health and fitness. Manny asks, my question is how can someone stay healthy, fit, and motivated during the holiday season, as it's really hard to stay away from processed sugar items? I can relate. I would say that what's helped me is if you approach things with some rigidity and some rules. That actually makes it a lot easier, because if you tell yourself in each moment you have to make that choice, like, oh, should I have ice cream? Should I not? Should I have this cake or whatever? Then it actually becomes much more challenging. But if you say up front, hey, I don't do dessert, I don't mess around with sweets unless it's Friday or Saturday evening, then it's a lot easier to say no on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, etc. Do you track your calories? If so, how? There are times when I do track my macros with MyFitnessPal, but I think to have a healthy relationship with food, I don't want to track all the time. So there are periods when I'm either bulking or cutting, and I'm trying to hit a certain macro target, right, and total calorie target. During those times, I'll track for about a week or so to dial in my own just kind of sense of things, and then after that, I'll stop tracking and I'll go by just the gestalt of like, you know, how things are feeling, and I'm usually accurate enough, close enough for the goals that I have fitness-wise. Do you track your workouts? Yeah, I use Google Spreadsheets and just like this custom spreadsheet that has the sets, the RPE, the weight, the exercise, and we track it over weeks, and we can just see how things are progressing. Planning on doing another 72-hour fast in the future? Yes, I am, and I'm actually going to be doing a vlog of that, an updated vlog, because last time I did bone broth, right, for some of the mineral supplementation. Some people had an issue with that because there's 10 calories per cup. I do 2 cups per day, that's 20 calories. A lot of this stuff is not black and white. From what I have seen and from the experts that I follow as well, having up to 50 calories, 50 calories per day, does not cause any detrimental effects in terms of the benefits you get. But again, some people disagreed with that, so I'm gonna be doing another one with just water and some minerals. Fitness goals for 2023. I'm a little bit more short-term and long-term with my fitness goals. I'm not really on a, hey, next year, this year. It's more like, what does the next 3 months look like? And then what does like the next 10 years look like? So right now I am in the middle of a bulk. I'm like 175 pounds now. In February I was like down to 150, what, a year and a half ago? So I'm gonna keep going from 175 maybe to like 180, maybe even 185. We'll see how fluffy I get, and then I'll be cutting after that. So want to finish this bulk, then do a cut, and then we're gonna reassess from there. It's also really nice to see strength gains, but I'm having some right knee issues. I'm not sure why. I'm suspecting it might be some minor meniscal injury, but MRI was totally normal other than a mild right knee effusion. So, but you can get false negatives on MRI, especially for meniscus injuries. So not squatting, not deadlifting, getting slowly back into cycling as long as it doesn't aggravate my knee too much. And we'll go from there. Getting my workouts in, being consistent, usually good things happen. Next up, productivity and studying from Boostra. Hey bro, love your videos. Thanks man. My question, when I study diseases, I mix their symptoms. For example, lupus and scleroderma. How can I deal with this? This is something that I definitely face too. I think most students face this. And The actual diseases or the parts that you confuse is gonna vary from person to person, obviously, but the solution I think is the same, which is generally to use certain mnemonic techniques. So maybe it's the memory palace method of loci. You think of certain images and certain locations to help you delineate and differentiate the aspects that you are confusing. Or you have other memory tricks where you see the word of scleroderma and it reminds you of some other word, like maybe it's the prefix or the suffix that reminds you of something, or you can create a little memory anchor there, and that is what you can use as your cue so that moving forward you don't confuse those items again. If you try to just rote memorize it, then from my experience, that isn't nearly as effective. You're gonna still keep confusing. So you have to use one of these memory tricks. Next up from Leonardo, how did you build up your YouTube career with these videos and also manage being a student? I'll say that, first of all, 4th year is very chill. I started Med School Insiders in October, and I started residency July 1st or end of June of the next year. So things were pretty lax during that time. If I was starting this while studying for step 1, it would look very different. I probably wouldn't have done that, right? So starting at a time when it was, I didn't have as much on my plate definitely helped a lot. Another part is reducing friction. So making videos that are easier to do, like a simple talking head with minimal editing, or the animated videos I did using VideoScribe initially, because that was a lot easier for me to make those videos with. And then during residency, I actually had help with the animations because I was way too busy between Blue Link plus the YouTube channel plus surgical residency. I couldn't animate my own videos. I just did the voiceover and the scripting, and I had someone else help me with that stuff. Nowadays, the team has grown. We have multiple people that are working on any given video, and now it's the scripting I get help with. I do the voiceover, I get help with the animating, I get help with the posting, the publishing. So building those systems and having people help has been massive for allowing me to do other things and build the businesses in other ways. But obviously you have to work up to that. And I think the first steps in terms of increasing one's own productivity and output and efficacy is focusing on those fundamental things. And we do talk a lot about productivity and study strategies and all that stuff on both this channel and on Med School Insiders. Now on to pre-med, medical school, and residency questions. Keisha asks about bridge programs from NP to MD. What's the fastest route? As far as I know, it's a matter of making sure you have your prereqs done and then applying to medical school. So going from NP to MD, I don't think there's really another path because NP is on the nursing model, obviously, and MD is in the medical model. From Anonymous, I'm younger, 25, and I'm having a tough time resisting the temptation to buy stuff. I'm a med student, so I keep justifying myself that I'll make it back soon, but I don't think that's a great philosophy. Any thoughts? And then Licking Lemon says, start by deleting shopping and delivery apps off your phone. I think that's a good idea. So adding friction here is gonna be your best friend. Getting rid of the apps that you use to impulse buy things, not consuming content that tempts you to buy things. Like I used to be really into headphones. I would buy various headphones and got really into headphones, and then I realized it's because I kept reading reviews and watching videos about headphones. So I stopped doing that, and I've been really happy with just the one pair of headphones that I have now. Sometimes that can also be people too. So if there are certain people that really tempt you, then you may need to alter your relationship with them. And then beyond that, you can even get into like your credit card and bank account setup so that you don't, like you limit the amount of money you give to yourself to use for discretionary spending. And you can do things like having a budget or even automatic transfers from your checking to your savings or whatever. But try thinking about it through like a systems lens rather than just saying, hey, I need to try harder to stop doing this. Ask yourself, how can I make my desired behavior more likely to happen without having to put in more effort? So how can I design systems and my environment and my surroundings such that the desired behavior is almost automatic? Simona asks, I want to apply to med school, but I'm not sure that after a while, I'll still be interested in it. So could you tell me some things to find out if I should apply for it? Right now, you should really get exposure to the field of medicine, do a lot of shadowing, volunteer in the hospital, in the clinic, and don't pursue the path until you know that it's what you want to do. Because if you're concerned that you may not be interested in it, there's no need to push hard and dedicate so much time, effort, money, etc. to this path. Greatness asks, tips for non-traditional. We actually have a dedicated video just for non-traditional students coming out on the Med School Insiders channel, so make sure you don't miss that. Chris Ariano, if you could reform med school admissions, what changes would you make? That is a good question. I don't know if I can give a really thorough and well thought out answer on the spot. I'm just gonna say a few things that come to mind in no particular order of importance. Like one thing is the cost of med school admissions is very high, and even with FAP and such, having the materials, the resources, etc., the tools to really excel with the MCAT, with the various things, I think is a limiting factor for a lot of people. I think that the whole secondary game can can be a bit much. I don't think it's necessary, especially when a lot of schools send out secondaries to all students just so they can charge a fee, even though they know they don't want to really pursue you for an interview. I actually don't really know how much value secondaries add, and why not just have a few standardized short essay responses on the primary application. I think affirmative action has a very good intention. I think the execution leaves some things to be desired, and that's why it's very challenging for Asian Americans to get into med school, harder than any other group actually. I think part of the solution there could be focusing more on socioeconomic disadvantages rather than just ethnic. And I'd like to see more residency seats opened up, because that's the big bottleneck. We can open up more med school seats to address, we have a doctor shortage and we have a lot of people that want to become doctors, but there's a disconnect, right? And a big part of that is that we don't have enough residency slots available to train those primary care providers. That would make things a lot easier on med students too. There are, of course, many other changes that we'd like to make, but that's what I have for you right now. Doug Talkington, if you could see one miracle in medicine, what would it be? Cure cancer. Best time to travel/vacation during medical school. I'll say for me, it was after step 1, did like a week-long trip. And then also at the end of 3rd year before starting my dedicated for step 2 CK. It wasn't actually a dedicated, but I did a research block and just treated that 1 month as my dedicated, or maybe it was 3 weeks, something like that. Oh, and then obviously, of course, the end of 4th year before starting residency is a really great time to do some traveling. And that's it, my friends. Thanks for watching. If you want your question answered in that next video, then make sure you are subscribed and you respond to our community posts, and also give me a follow on Instagram, because those are the 2 places where I actually source these questions from. Much love, my friends. Happy holidays, and I will see you guys in that next one.